Hey there, welcome to East and West. Let's talk about Coin Locker Girl.
너 왜 태어났니?
Originally titled Chinatown, this South Korean criminal thriller was released mid-2015 and is loosely based on the 80s Japanese novel Coin Locker Children. The film follows Il-young, a young girl found abandoned at a train station who gets picked up by a underworld loan shark simply known as Mother. A number of years later, and Il-young is now Mother's right-hand lady, and clearly has the attitude to match. Which means things start getting complicated when she's ordered to pick up a debt from a guy who has something that she's never seen before. A positive attitude. And from there, all the problems that you might expect to happen in a film like this end up happening. Lies, secrets, betrayal, all that good stuff. Now this film goes for a whole crime noir type feel to it, and it works really well. The locations and settings they have here are fabulous. The whole film is actually amazing to look at. There's just so much atmosphere and character to these locations, and that's before we even get onto the actual cast, who are just wonderful in their own right. All of the actors and actresses are just absolutely amazing in this film, the key standout of which has to be Kim Hee-soo as Mother. First up, the makeup that she wears throughout most of this movie, it is astoundingly good. She looks absolutely amazing in this role. And she feels amazing here too. Every scene that she's in, she just seems to basically radiate power and control. It's a joy to watch. And added to that is the chemistry she shares with Kim Go-eun, the actress who plays Il-young, which is just superb in its own right. This is a case of great dialogue being said by two absolutely wonderful actresses. There's always this really weird mix of emotions whenever these two have to talk. It's always like halfway between family caring and strictly business, which I hope was the actual intent, because they just nail it in this film, and that's actually what I imagine something like this would really be like. And really, most of the characters and their mixed up relationships absolutely shine through in this film. The one exception of which is the relationship between the girl and the guy that actually starts off this whole mess. Which is kind of a big deal. Let me restate, okay, these two are really, really good performers, but the problem here is, I do not buy this for a second. And I'm not even entirely sure why it doesn't work, alright? Okay, like, this guy, I get it, alright? He's positive, he has a bright outlook on his future, which is something that nobody else in this film has. But nothing about these two makes sense. First time they meet, okay, she's gone to his apartment for the first time, he invites her in, he makes her lunch. Okay, that's a little bit extreme, but I can still buy that. However, the next time she goes there, they end up watching a movie together, she's obviously crushing on him, and he obviously has strong feelings for her. There are fairy tale relationships that don't go by this fast. And the problem is, there just isn't enough chemistry that you can feel between these two actors to justify something like this. Now, maybe if it was just a case of him showing her another side of the world and her maybe respecting him for what he's done, that would make perfect sense. I could believe that. But that is not what's going down here. This goes so far beyond that, and there is nothing between them that would warrant the amount of emotions that come out later in this film. It's just weird. Now, aside from that nitpick, and from the fact that I do actually enjoy this movie, there is one other problem I have here, and that's pacing. Which doesn't even show up at first, because the film starts so strongly. The film opens, there's a quick 10-minute backstory to get us up to speed, there's a bit more explanation as to what's going on now, then the main plot starts. It's all really good, it's all really strong, it's all really fast. Which actually explains why it works, because all the problems with the pacing in this film are whenever it tries to slow down. Now, it's one thing for an action movie or a thriller to slow down the pace after a while, to take a bit of a breather or maybe relieve a little bit of tension. But it's another thing entirely to slow down the film so much you might as well be going backwards. And that's what this film does. In fact, it does it 3 times. All of which involving food for some reason. Yes, it does pick itself up afterwards, but the thing is, any of the pacing and build-up that was happening beforehand is just so much weaker than it really should have been. Which probably explains why the last half of this film really doesn't quite work. Here's how it works. You're watching this movie and everything's going good. The story's intriguing, the acting's amazing, and at some point you know that something is going to go down. And then things actually start happening, and it works, and it's effective. And then nothing happens for the next 20 minutes. The problem here is just simply timing, alright? When these things start coming to a head, there's still an hour of the film left to go. It happens basically right on the halfway mark. And as much as the film tries, and to its credit, it really does try, but there just isn't enough material for it to work with for it to be as engaging as it should be. I mean, don't get me wrong, the writing's still top-notch, and there definitely are some sections that are effective, but that's the problem. They're just sections. This is the part of the film that should be nothing but build-up to the final confrontation, but every 20 minutes or so they decide to slow down. And it's like I said before, any suspense, any tension, any sort of build-up that was going on is just left so much weaker because of it. But more than any of that, the biggest problem I have with the ending is the actual ending. The big twist of the movie, if you can call it that. I honestly don't know if you can call it that, but I don't know what else to call it. But the twist is that one of the characters in this film has hidden layers. They have undertones. They're not quite as they appear to be. Which is a problem because that completely ruins the point of this character. If what they are saying is true, then nothing about this character makes sense. Okay? Half of the actions they've taken are completely nonsensical. And more than that, it just devalues them, both from their point in the story and just as a good character, and from all we've learnt about them. It's just... this part just really irks me. Alright, I know what they were trying to do, I know what they were going for, but they completely missed the point of this character and why they should have been the way that they were. And after all the stuff that was built up in the first part, and all the stuff they were trying to build up in the second part, it just makes it so the film ends up feeling like it's ending a little bit anticlimactically. But even though it is a bit of a letdown, it's still good. The good parts of the ending are still good. Alright, the acting is still top-notch, the cinematography still looks awesome, and slower scenes aside, the film is still really tense and really well written. It's still a good ending, okay? Even if it isn't as good as the first half of the film. All in all, this is still a well-done movie, it is still a very enjoyable movie. And while the ending does have its drawbacks, I wouldn't say it distracts too much from the overall film. I still highly recommend you go out and watch this. I give this film 10 ID cards and 5 switchblades. So that was my review of Coin Locker Girl. Thanks so much for watching, hope you enjoyed it. Until next time.